Since the days of Christ himself, money has been tied to the wicked and profane. He famously taught that you cannot serve both God and money. These intricately adorned cotton notes seem to determine so much of one's life. I was told that money didn't grow on trees, but it grew in banks. Its cold calculations could dictate your access to food, clothing, and shelter. Basic needs locked behind a paywall despite the world's apparent abundance. To have it or to lack it would make all the difference. In my political journey, I felt drawn to communist anarchist tendencies, excited by the idea of a moneyless society. Over the years, I've written about the potential of a revitalized commons, a library economy where all can access and use the things they may want or need to live a good life. This forms only part of my eternally incomplete economic vision, of course. As I've become more of an anarchist without adjectives,
a seeker of synthesis, I've lately been considering the potentials of money as a technology, stripped away from its corrosive capitalist content.
Midland though my economic knowledge may be, there's so much to money that I'd like to explore. I can't cover all of it with one stroke of the digital pen, of course, but with this video, I want to explore the question of what money could be if it were under collective control. I want to ask you to join me in rethinking money and what role it may play,
if any.
Let's begin, as always, with definitions. Money is a medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value, and a standard of deferred payment. That's Economics 101. Money is defined by its functions, not as material, at least according to English economist William Stanley Jevons. We use money to get the things we want, to measure the value of things, to save value long term, and to keep track of what we owe. Debt and money have a storied history, as I discussed in my video reviewing anthropologist David Graeber's famous book on the subject. Money is also tied to markets, as markets are compositions of systems, institutions, procedures, social relations, or infrastructures, whereby parties engage in the exchange of goods, services, information, currency, or any combination thereof. Or in less words, markets are collections of agents making exchanges with one another. With definitions this broad, one could argue that contrary to its common connotations,
even moneyless exchanges fit under the umbrella of market activity.
Let's put a pin in that. Markets are often further distinguished from forms of exchange like gift economies by the price-setting mechanism, which establishes the value of goods and services, including labor. Gift economies, on the other hand, exchange resources on the basis of ongoing relationships and reciprocity. Money and markets today exist in the context of capitalism and government. Private and state control of property ensures that most of us must sell our labor to access the necessities of life. Money, and specifically the currencies issued and controlled by states, is necessary to live in society. The earth is reaching its limits. The system must not go on. Completely understandably, money and markets get a bad rap among radicals, intertwined as they are with the functions of capitalism and government.
But is it possible for money and markets to find a place in another sort of society? To be part of the solution, to reflect and embolden our autonomy and mutuality? Can money and markets find a place in anarchy?
There are many focuses within anarchism, cross-pollinations of the schools of thought, and varied visions of how anarchy might work. As a synthesist anarchist, I'm open to exploring them all and seek to reconcile them where I can, hence the focus of this video. Though much less popular, there are anarchisms which do not preclude the existence of
non-capitalist markets and currencies in anarchy.
Mutualism or market anarchism are the terms often used for this tendency in contemporary discussions. I first learned about anarchism through its most popular and sometimes considered default variant, communist anarchism. But the from each according to their ability to each according to their needs approach is not the totality of potential anarchic economic arrangements. Communist anarchism seeks the abolition of money and markets, preferring instead the free distribution of the goods and services produced by self-organized workers according to need. This may be accomplished through decentralized economic planning, common storehouses, library economies, the relationship building exchange of the gift economy, and other such proposals.
Mutualism is a grouping of anarchist philosophies that seek a stateless society and non-capitalist economy based on mutual agreements between free individuals and social groupings. The aim is a synthesis of community and property. In the words of the original anarchist and mutualist Pierre Joseph Proudhon, striking a balance between individual and collective interests as the foundation of liberty.
On the question of property, which Proudhon famously grappled with the most, for now I'm going to avoid delving too deeply into still developing anarchist theories of property, possession, and their surrounding norms. That's a topic for a future video. If markets are collections of agents making exchanges of goods, services, information, currency, and so on with one another, then mutualists indeed find the concept compatible with both monetary and non-monetary exchanges.
Hence, some go as far as to propose that markets could be a manifestation of communism.
But wheresoever the principles of private property and personal fortunes exist, a struggle of economic interests inevitably comes into being, a statist structure created by the economically more powerful. So what remains of individualist anarchism? Negation of the class struggle, of the principle of anarchist organization, having as its object the free society of equal workers. And moreover, empty babble encouraging workers unhappy with their lot to look to their defenses by means of recourse to the personal solutions allegedly open to them as liberated individuals. But what is there in all this that can be described as anarchist? Where are we to find the features in need of synthesis with communism? That whole philosophy of individualism has nothing to do with anarchist theory and/or anarchist practice, and it is unlikely that an anarchist worker would be inclined to conform to this philosophy.